I actually wasn't planning on making a video today. I was on my way to a shoot, and then my shoot got rescheduled for tomorrow, so I thought I would go ahead and make a video with my free time today. So I thought, what is the one thing that I really want to say to all of you guys? If I could say one thing right now, what is at the top of that list? And that is that personal work should be personal. What I mean by that is that you should really try to put yourself into the work that you make and what it is that you're photographing. So whether that be people that you're photographing, if maybe they're close friends or family of yours, or if you're trying to show kind of the landscape of your area and your town, wherever it is that you call home, or maybe it's like a topic or a subject of something that has deeply affected you personally and you want to photograph other people who are maybe going through, a similar kind of thing. Whatever it may be, just try to use your own personal perspective in that. I've been kind of wrestling with this for the last few months, and it's odd that, 16 years of photography, I feel like I'm just now starting to scratch the surface of who I am as a photographer and what my voice really is. About a month ago, I came across the work of Sage Sohier, and it was one of those rare instances where as soon as I saw her work, I just instantly felt like I understood it. And that's not to say that the images aren't subtle in any way or that they're on the nose or anything like that. It was just like I understood it immediately. Normally, with a lot of photographers that I love and really admire, it took some time for me to study their work and really digest it and find the things that I really love. Whereas with Sage's work, it was like I saw what she put out there and I just instantly felt her perspective. That's not an easy thing to do, and I think a lot of it really comes down to the personal perspective that she includes in her work, but I can safely say she's one of my all-time favorite photographers now. And although people probably wouldn't believe it, I actually found her work scrolling through Instagram. I follow a number of different book publishers on Instagram, which is a great way to both find new books and also spend way more money than I probably should, but Stanley Barker is one of those publishers that I follow, and they posted about her latest book, Animals, that they published, and it was one of those just immediate buys. I had seen like a couple of photos that they included with the little sale post, and I just instantly bought the book, and since then, about a month ago, I've probably looked through that book every single day, and I've also purchased 2 other books of hers as well since then. So today I just want to share these few books with you guys, all from Sage Sohier, and kind of talk about her work and why it's so personal and why I think that's such a strength of hers and can be for other photographers as well. So first up, we have Animals. This is the book that Stanley Barker published. It's what made me find her work, and it's all a collection of photos from the 80s and 90s of people with their companion animals. I'm an animal lover myself. That's what drew me to the book when I just read the title. But Sage herself, she also talks about that, being an animal lover, in the beginning of the book, and she talked about how in the 70s she really started photographing people, and she wanted to include their companion animals because she just felt like it took away so much of that self-consciousness of the subject. They felt a little bit more at ease with their animal there in the frame with them. So it added that level of comfort, but at the same time, it introduced a level of chaos because you can't really predict or direct what an animal is going to do in the frame, which I love. And there's everything from dogs to birds to cats to farm animals, anything in between. It's all represented here. People in their homes, outside of their homes, on the street. It's a really, really great and wide collection, and there's just such an interesting kind of relationship between the person and their animal there, and I think any animal lover will appreciate that. But the way she photographs the work, it's not just them always standing posing with the animal. It's a lot of interaction as well, which really adds to that spontaneity that I love to see. And the interactions and the differences in expression from the owner to the animal, and then also just kind of, again, that chaos where the animal isn't really cooperating as well as maybe they had hoped. It just adds so much, and a lot of it is shot with either a flash bounced off the ceiling or a direct flash, but it really works really well because you can see the animal's expression so much clearer than you probably would have been able to with, a slower shutter speed or something like that. So all in all, this book is just incredible. Again, I've looked through it probably every day since I got it, and one of my favorite books in my collection by far. The second book I bought is At Home with Themselves, Same-Sex Couples in 1980s America. This is a project she started in 1986 due to the rise of AIDS and how homosexuality was viewed and even portrayed across the media in relation to the AIDS crisis. That alone made me interested in the book because that had to be a really vulnerable thing for her subjects to be photographed to portray their homosexuality during a time like that, as opposed to 2020 where thankfully we've grown so much more and people are so much more accepted for just being who they are, as opposed to maybe back then in the 80s. I wish we could say that, people are unanimously accepted for who they are, globally. We're not there yet, but, we can still keep working towards that. So just thinking about photographing her subjects like that in the 80s, that alone made me want to buy the book. But then after buying it, in the introduction, she revealed a story about when she was young and kind of the first time she realized that her father was likely gay himself. And it was a really just kind of raw and personal moment that she shared. And she talked about how that, in hindsight, after working on this project, she realized how that had obviously played a part in her wanting to do this project. And then sharing the work with her father as well. It was just a really raw and vulnerable kind of moment that she had and then shared in the work itself and just in the introduction alone. It's just really, really beautiful to see that. You have everything from young couples, old couples, couples with kids, without kids. It's a really, really broad view of everything of same-sex couples in the 80s in America. It's just beautiful. This photo right here is probably my favorite photo in the book. I think it just tells such a strong story. It's Gordon and Jim with Gordon's mother Margot, San Diego, 1987. You have Gordon there with his mother. He's sitting on the couch with her with his arm around her, and then off to the side, he's holding the hand of Jim, his partner, and everyone's expression there, it's just such a raw moment. You can tell that from what it seems, Margot is likely not completely on board or completely accepting of, her son and who his partner is, but you see Jim there holding his hand and being there, being in support, with the dog there as well, just kind of with its head down. It's just a really, really strong photo that I think tells a really uncomfortable kind of story. I think a lot of people can relate to having, tough conversations with family members at times, and I can't imagine what this was like, especially back then, but the photo alone just tells a really, really strong story. And the last book of Sage Sohier's that I bought is Witness to Beauty. This is a book all about her mother, who was actually a model in her younger years. And when I say model, I'm talking cover of Life magazine, photographed by Richard Avedon model. And Sage actually shares a lot of those photos of her mother from her modeling years early on in the book, and then she goes on to photograph her mother herself much later in life and really tells this story of how she grew up being a witness to beauty, a witness to, her mother, watching her mother get ready in the mirror every day with her makeup and her wardrobe and just make herself presentable. She had kind of held herself to such this high standard, being a model and everything. And Sage not only photographs this in a beautiful way, but she also includes herself in a lot of the photos that I think just elevates the story so much more. They'll be getting ready or trying on clothes, and her expression, her posture, even where she's placed in the frame, it tells this story of feeling out of place, like she's standing there next to her mother, trying to measure up or trying to fit in with who her mother is. They're just these really vulnerable moments that she not only photographed well, but was able to convey that emotion at the same time in her posture and her expression. And I mean, in her own way, it's like she's modeling herself the same way that her mother modeled whenever she was younger. It's just really, really fascinating to see that kind of dynamic in the photos. So if you can't tell already, I am a massive fan of Sage Sohier. Thank you, Stanley Barker, for not only publishing Animals, but, posting about it on Instagram and putting it on my radar, because as a result of that, I've found one of my all-time favorite photographers now, and I hope this video, for anyone who's watching out there, I hope this video did the same thing for you. So put yourself into your work, because I think that's where your voice and your best work are waiting. Love you guys. I'll see you next time.